Hiya folks, welcome to the review or the reaction to Leeds United 0, Portsmouth 1. Leeds dropping more points to Portsmouth this season. 4 points in total dropped by Leeds to one of the basement dwelling sides in the division this year. Not a good game at all by any stretch of the imagination. Very similar to West Brom in terms of Leeds tempo, Leeds passing style, and just a general availability of players looking to get involved in the game and be involved on the ball. And Leeds have now created a massive problem for themselves heading into the Millwall game midweek, where they'll have to win that game against a side that won't make it easy for them either. The last two games, Leeds have had what I would only describe as a massive hangover from the endings of the Sunderland and Sheffield United games, and they just haven't looked themselves in the last two games at all, dropping points at home to West Brom and now losing on the road to Portsmouth. That means Leeds' lead at the top of the league, which was 5 points less than 2 weeks ago, is now goal difference between Leeds and Sheffield United. And Burnley are very, very much back in the mix now, only 2 points behind Leeds, and have started to score goals. And Leeds are making more of their own problems than anybody else is for them. We'll go through the game, we'll go through the performances of players, but there's so much that went wrong in that game today. As I said, a massive hangover, and just from the start of that game, sloppy, lacklustre, I suppose, heavy-legged. Some players just non-existent in the game as well, which is a problem. Daniel Farke will need to look at making considerable changes to the side coming into the Millwall game. He cannot persist with certain players in the squad that are there right now are just not having good performances. And then also today, some poor performances that are out of character. Out Tanaka just not having the game that he normally has for Leeds United. But in general, Leeds seem to be far too complacent on the ball, assuming they have more time and giving the ball away repeatedly over the course of the game. Leeds' issues this season, when they have had issues, usually come when they don't win the battle in the game and they're not up for the physical fight. And Portsmouth today won more second balls than Leeds. They won more headers than Leeds, and they won more of the duels than Leeds. And Leeds just didn't look themselves at all. The tempo of the game, also a problem for Leeds. Slow passing, slow out from the back, lack of movement, and all of that led to Leeds' own problems. I'm not one to usually overreact to a game or be unnecessarily negative for a game for the sake of it, but today there's very few positives to take from that game, and Daniel Farke's comments after the game will be interesting to see what he said. Leeds had more than enough chances to win that game. Could have had a penalty in the first half for a foul on Dan James. Joel Piroe has a fantastic chance one-on-one with the keeper after a rebound from a Manor Solomon shot to put Leeds in front, and he hits the ball straight at the goalkeeper. And then the second half, he's given an open goal again with no goalkeeper in the net this time, and puts the ball over the crossbar from 6 yards out. Junior Firpo has a header off the crossbar. He also finds himself 1v1 with the goalkeeper and has his shot saved as well. And then Sam Byron with a header towards the back end of the game that's cleared by the keeper. A really good save from him. But that's the issue. When you go through this team, it was a lacklustre performance, a heavy-legged performance. Leeds just not moving the ball well enough. Players not looking for the ball, which was interesting. A lot of the defensive players regularly throughout that game had looking up at the players with their hands out open, going, where's the movement, who wants the ball? And it just wasn't there. Bravery for me is a big part of that game there today. Players didn't look like they wanted the ball. They were all running away or static, being marked by players, not trying to get free and not looking for the ball, which meant the bulk of Leeds' possession ended up being a passing fest amongst the backline, which we've seen a couple of times earlier on this season. Passing throughout the whole game was sloppy. Leeds not finding their passing range early enough or regularly enough. Leeds giving the ball away multiple times when they're trying to force the ball forward. Forcing being the operative words at points in that game where Leeds just didn't have the movement off the ball and players free to look for passes. They were trying to force it and just get giving the ball back to Portsmouth on a regular basis. Decision making again, which we've talked about earlier on this season, has been an issue during Leeds' lesser periods of the season. Came back in spades there today. What to do with the ball, over carrying it at times when there was an obvious pass, not releasing the ball early enough, getting caught in possession. Out Tanaka today was caught in possession 4 times on the edge of his own box, twice nearly leading to a potential goal, or at least a potential clear-cut shooting opportunity for Portsmouth, although they didn't capitalise on them that much. A massive mistake at the back for Leeds, and you can argue over who's responsible. I read the body language. And as the ball is played through, Joe Rodon gets his run wrong. Pascal Struijk lets the striker run off his shoulder and doesn't cover the run. And Joe Rodon's left blindsided for the run through. Rodon slows down then, and assuming Meslier is going to come out, he hesitates and the ball is put over. The body language reaction is interesting to me, because as Rodon looks like he's trying to blame Meslier, Meslier has a bark back at him, and Joe Rodon backs down pretty quickly, which suggests that Illan Meslier might be right on this one. But when he does come, needs to make himself bigger and he doesn't do that, and it is a very tidy finish by the Portsmouth striker. Take nothing away from Portsmouth today, they made this game incredibly difficult for Leeds. They started with a high tempo and they maintained that for most of the game. They swarmed around Leeds when they tried to pass the ball out. They didn't make it easy for Leeds, and Leeds just didn't really have the answers that they needed to outside of what should have been 3 goals for Leeds had they taken the chances that they had. The massive chances came, one in the first half, one in the second half. It's a shot from Manor Solomon, who again to me today was very much absent in this game, a passenger for the bulk of the game before he was taken off. But his shot is saved by the goalkeeper. Pirro was less than 6 yards out, and you would have put your house on him to calmly roll the ball into the far corner. He doesn't. He snatches at it and strikes the ball directly at the goalkeeper's shins, right in front of him, and no goal there. Then the second half, down the left hand side, we get past the goalkeeper and the ball is pulled back for a tap in for Joel Pirro, and he puts the ball over the crossbar in what is a horror show of a miss for Joel Pirro. And again, a player in that position that you would bank on finding the back of the net. But Leeds kept giving the ball away, and that was the tone of the game for me. Every time Leeds had the possession, they didn't keep it, didn't try and string some passes together, didn't try to calm the game down a little bit and play it Leeds' way. But it's very hard to do that when the backline have the ball and nobody in front of them looks interested in picking the ball up off of them. Manor Solomon's performance today was another passenger, and that's the last 3 games in a row where Manor Solomon has offered little to nothing up against a fullback in Swanson, who he should definitely be of a higher level than and fancy his chances are running at. He didn't, and again was barely an option to receive the ball. When he did, it usually went backwards. Offered very little outside the one strike that he had that could have led to a Joe Pirro finish. Brendan Aronson in the first half was busy, was involved, was looking to get involved in the game. In the second half went completely out of the game again. A lot of that could just be down to the fact that Leeds weren't getting the ball forward, but Joe Pirro was at least doing the number 9 role of dropping in and trying to link the play and get Leeds moving, but it just wasn't happening at all. You can go through the whole side. Junior Firpo at one point in the second half comes forward with the ball, passes it to nobody, loses it, and instead of going to get the ball back or going back into his position, he waves his hands in the air and stands completely stationary as the game runs past him down into the position that he had left vacant. And there was a lot of that to go around. The 2 centre-backs happy to pass the ball amongst themselves and not overly happy to take chances and go forward. And then the centre of the park, for me, Ilya Groove was the better of the 2 of the players in the middle of the park, found himself more forward more often. But out Tanaka, and a very uncustomary performance from him, giving the ball away repeatedly in the middle of the park, getting caught in possession more often than not, and assuming again more often than not that he had more time on the ball than he actually did, and putting Leeds under pressure at the wrong times. He has a lot of credit in the bank this season, so you can put that performance down to a one-off. But Leeds need a shake-up, and Leeds will need to make some changes going into the Millwall game. I don't think Manor Solomon can start the game. Whether Brendan Aronson starts or not remains to be seen, but Leeds kind of hamstrung in that number 10 position, but they could just start with Joe Pirro in the 10 and start Mateo Joseph, who, by the way, when he came on, outside of running around, didn't add an awful lot, gave the ball away quite often, gave up on a couple of runs as well, which you don't want to see from this. Willie Nonto, when he did come on, was probably the better of the subs. Ramazani was trying to get involved in the game, but again, sloppy in possession, giving the ball away as well. So it's just rampant across the entire team today. Just not good enough by Leeds by any stretch of the imagination. Didn't get Dan James in the game often enough in the attacking areas. When we did get it to him, it was too late. Balls were being passed behind him, and again, moves broke down. So all in all, just a really bad day at the office for Leeds, and they have made themselves a hell of an issue to fix now heading into the Millwall game. And we know Millwall will not make it easy for Leeds, but Leeds will have to go into that midweek game and hope to get a win so they can at least go into the international break with a little bit of momentum. But right now, they looked flat as hell. They looked miles off it, and they didn't look like a side who are the best team in the league this season. But again, after a fantastic February month, Leeds appear to have a little bit of a hangover. We'll hope they can dust that off and get on with things as quickly as they can. Daniel Farke has a lot of work to do between now and the weekend, and Leeds are very much back in a 3-horse race for the automatic 2 places. Let me know in the comments what you think about the game, your thoughts on it, and what the Leeds do now going into the Millwall game. What changes would you make? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, but hopefully it's a one-off and this is the only one, and maybe this is the kick up the arse that Leeds needed. I thought the West Brom game would have been enough to do that, but again, we got a very similar performance than we got against West Brom, and just poor finishing in front of goal. We can't rely on 92nd minute, 93rd minute winners to get results. We've got to start doing an awful lot more, an awful lot earlier in games, and Leeds just weren't at the races today at all for me. Let me know down below what you think. Would love to know your comments. We can agree or disagree, no issues there. Let me know what you think, and we'll be back on Monday morning for some Leeds news. Enjoy the remainder of your day. I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.